Hello, and welcome to Poderosas to the Front, caring for yourself while saving the world. My name is Dinorah Martinez, and I am the Education Manager for the National Latina Institute for Reproductive Health. And today we are here to talk about taking care of one's personal overall health while serving our communities. So we are joined by the fierce Claudia Flores.
Hi,
Ooh,
everyone. Very
immigrant
excited to be
rights,
here.
immigrant rights advocate and former NLIRH policy analyst, and Stephanie Loraine. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Hola.
With WeTestify, Storyteller, and abortion rights advocate. So thank you guys for joining us for this chat. We hope to bring light to the fact that many within the Latinx community are struggling to maintain overall health while also fighting for their human rights and that of their loved ones. I would like to know invite our guests to share their own experiences and any resources and tips that you have for Latinx viewing this program. So I'm going to start with Stephanie with the first question. And so Stephanie, please tell us, how are you saving the world? For example, what kind of work are you engaged in?
Wonderful. So thank you for your introduction, Dinorah. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all today. So again, my name is Stephanie Loraine, pronouns she, her. So the question in how I'm saving the world, it's very loaded because I think um, our existence really tells a lot, and our existence really is resistance and being our authentic selves and continuing to do the work that we do. So I do a few different roles. Currently, I'm working on a media project to expand the media's coverage on reproductive justice and reproductive rights, particularly focused on Latinx. Also, I am an abortion storyteller with WeTestify. It's a program through the National Network of Abortion Funds to amplify the experiences of marginalized people and people of color and their abortion experiences. And I also work with the Central Florida Women's Emergency Fund, which is an abortion fund in Central Florida, working to cover the cost and cover the barriers that people experience in trying to access abortion. So it's a lot of different things that I do to put my dent in the world and make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Wow, thank you so much. Very interesting. And you, Claudia?
Hi, everyone. I am also very excited to be here. Thank you, Dinorah, for that wonderful introduction. How am I saving the world? Well, first and foremost, I want to say that it is an honor to do the work that I do because as a Latina, I think I recognize every day the work that many other Latinas, including yourself, Dinorah, and Stephanie, are doing to move forward our community and our people. The work that I do currently is basically turning a lot of the research into advocacy tools. I am now working at a think tank where we produce progressive policy research. And I am amplifying, products, immigration-related research on a daily basis with partners and trying to get it into the hands of advocates and activists that can use that data and information to form movements. So the work that I do is very different from some of the work that I was doing at the Latina Institute, and I miss the genuine community feel. But I also think that this work that I'm doing now is very important because oftentimes, especially at a time where it seems like facts are always questions, it is more important now than ever to be able to lift up the truth and try to bring together, researchers and individuals to show that, the data is still important and relevant to policy conversations.
Yeah. Very interesting, your work. Thank you. And well, for me, I share a little of what I do. As I said before, my job is to be part of the Community Mobilization Department as Education Manager of National Latina Institute for Reproductive Health. And I feel very proud to work with one of the strategic areas of the organization as it is education, since it is through this area that we support the voices and activists of Latinas throughout the reproductive justice movement, and we make our best efforts to frame the mobilization of Latinas for reproductive justice through a broad lens of social justice. So, Stephanie, how have you personally been impacted by the work that you do serving your community?
So, very simply, is I'm a person, yo soy una Latina que I had 2 abortions, both before I turned 18. So that particular experience really guides and impacts the way that I do my work, because I was a youth who needed reproductive health care and couldn't access it without state involvement in that decision. As I was a person who needed a judicial bypass, which is the process where a judge actually approves your ability to actually get an abortion at a reproductive health center. So that really guides my work as being a person who has been through this process in getting an abortion and having state involvement, and kind of moving through these different circles that I've had the privilege of being able to do. So that really guides it guides my work, because I have the experience to speak to when somebody is going through considering having an abortion or post-abortion. So I'm also have a master's in social work, and have experience in providing crisis counseling and counseling in general. So I think that experience really, having that as well when I am talking to people who are in need of an abortion and are considering that decision, I think those skills and plus my experience really impact that type of work. And so
yeah, thank you. That sounds like you have too much passion for your work. In my case, for example, I'm so passionate about what I do that I can spend hours planning, developing, creating, and I have lost the notion of the time. I focus so much on some tasks that I did not pay much attention to the time, which I charge the bill, since I was letting go opportunities to take care of my health, my sleeping hours, my meal times, and even postpone the dates to perform, some medical exams, until when I decide to put my health as a priority. I had already been diagnosed with a cancer that was 100% preventable. So I learned my lesson in the hard way. So, and you, Claudia?
Well, I think for me, this year in particular has been pretty exhausting. The way that the work has impacted my life as an immigrant, living under this administration that is so anti-immigrant, so anti-Latino. I think that the biggest challenge has been managing my understanding of what things I can control and where are areas that I have to trust that things will get better. In terms of, looking more at the personal impact, I often worry a lot about the future. And I think, looking at a lot of the recent policy changes, one thing that in particular has impacted me has been the recent wave of people coming to our borders. It makes me really sad and sometimes angry that our policies are really limiting the ability of refugees and asylum seekers to find the safety that they've been fighting for. So I sometimes feel very challenged and powerless because the work that I do focuses so heavily on the immigration policy issues in a domestic way, but also thinking about how can I be a better global citizen and how can I ensure that women around the world, in particular asylum seekers and refugees, can have access to the refuge and safety that they need and deserve. So the past few months, I've been trying to focus my ability to affect change in trying to set goals for myself and keeping myself accountable so that I don't get so caught up in the future, but rather focus on things that I can do in the present moment that can still have a deep impact on myself and my community.
Yeah, and as you said, sometimes our work is very exhausting, right? Mm-hmm. So in your case, Claudia, how do you find balance between your personal and working life?
So that's the $1 million question. So I think I've come to terms with the idea that my work is always personal because it impacts me, it impacts my family, it impacts my community. But in terms of creating boundaries for myself. So one thing that I've tried over the next few months is to develop new friendships. So trying to surround myself with people who have a positive mindset, reconnecting with mentors and people that oftentimes when you feel overwhelmed and stressed and you're trying the same strategies or tactics, it can be really exhausting, especially in movement building. So it's helpful to learn from others. There's always something that you can learn. So I've been trying to surround myself with new people, new ideas, and also finding avenues to reward myself. I think one thing that as advocates, and I know for myself, I haven't done a very good job at is recognizing when I feel proud of an accomplishment or trying to pamper myself for the work that I do. So for me, that is biking. I love to ride my bike. So I've been more intentional about finding time on weekends to, do fitness, exercise, because it really gets my body moving. And I've actually noticed that after I work out, even if it's 30 minutes or 20 minutes of a bike ride, I feel better physically and I can come up with better ideas. So over the past several weeks, I've noticed that, at times that I get angry over things that I can't change or I'm stuck on the same idea, I allow myself to take a break. And I recognize that a lot of people watching this Google Hangout might think, well, I don't have time. And the way, people around me tell me is you always make time for things that you want to do. And whether that is a phone call to a friend, to a family member, to check on someone, it's always really nice to connect to what fuels your passion, and whether that is your community or your family, finding ways to also reconnect with real humans. So I know that oftentimes for immigration policy in particular, I'm on my computer, on my laptop, I can be there for hours. But then on weekends, I, for instance, volunteer in some cases to do scholarship application readings for immigrant students. And that actually really uplifts my spirit. So I would encourage folks who are watching this live stream to think about what are things that are still related maybe to your area of work and what you're passionate about, but that don't feel like work, right? So for me, whether it's working with immigrant students, whether it's finding time to nourish my body, to take care of myself, or reconnecting to people who may have ideas on, how to guide yourself or how do you approach challenges, I would say just surrounding yourself by new mentalities and new ideas to really reinvigorate your spirit.
Wow, cool. You have to teach me how to ride a bike. I know.
Oh my goodness.
There's always a first time for everything, Dinorah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of time to think after my long treatment, and I reflect and understand that my health is the priority. If I want to continue doing what I love, my passion, if I want to continue in the fight for health, dignity, and justice for all, I have to start at home. So I have to change many habits, and I think I'm improving. Nowadays, I feel very well physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I think for sure, I know that the 80% of the success in my treatment, it was the attitude. I took this situation as a challenge, and fortunately, I was surrounded by very, very positive sisters in my family and my work and in my organization. So since I have decided to take care of myself in a more holistic way. And you, Stephanie?
So, and with all of the work that we have consistently do, so work and then also volunteer work, I really try to plan my day knowing that there's always going to be chaos, but having consistent things that I do for myself, to keep myself grounded. So sometimes that means like what's really important for me is food. So I always stop to take my lunch. And before I transitioned from my last job, they said, well, how are we going to know it's lunch? Because I was always the first one to say, all right, guys, let's go. It's time to get some food.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we don't have that much time, and we have like our working lunches, and we have to do what we have to do. But it's important to take, at least 15, 20 minutes to, just get out of that work mode, and really just get your head together, and even distract yourself. It could be like watching some funny videos, which is
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to do. I started listening to podcasts of different topics that I really enjoy. And that's been really, really interesting. Also, something that has really helped me grow both as a person and professionally and taking care of myself is therapy. So I've been in therapy for a year now. Yes. So even when the weeks got really, really rough, I was still making sure to go to therapy. And I've been very lucky to have a therapist who actually is able to do virtual sessions with me on weeks that are really hard to like get out of the office. So sometimes, we have long days, or even like depending on where we live, the traffic situation is really hard to be able to make it to wherever therapy is. So I've been able to do virtual sessions like from an empty office, and take my lunch at the same time. So being able to get that health, that self-care, has been really, really essential for me. And therapy isn't always accessible to everybody, both financially, and maybe it's just not the thing that works for you. So I always talk about, what is therapy for you? What is therapeutic for you? Like, where can you get lost in? And sometimes that's like movies. Like, I really enjoy cooking. Actually, something that I want to start doing more that I used to, instead of kind of going out to eat, is kind of, whatever it is that I'm getting out when I go out to eat, try to make it at home and make it in my own style. And that really, it's a challenge, but then also it's fun, because you're learning how to cook something new, that you may not be able to get because you think, oh well, I'll just go out and get it. So I think that's been really good. And something also is getting in touch with your body. So our body tells us consistently,
Yeah.
gives us these messages, and we ignore because we're so busy and we're caught up. And I think, getting in touch with what your body's telling you. And sometimes, like, I just have this headache that won't go away. And then I think, like, when was the last time I drank water? It's been like 4 hours.
Yeah.
So try, even if it's just drinking more water, having like a snack. I always try to have like peanuts or pretzels, something like on my desk, or a piece of fruit, something nearby, to treat myself, especially on days where you can't get up. Sometimes it's taking out my moño, like I don't have a moño today.
Yeah.
But it's like taking your hair out of that bun, and having a little change, taking your clothes, like all of those small things that you can do for yourself to kind of change your little environment, changing your desk around. I try to have things that like make me happy on my desk and around me. So I have my beautiful Puerto Rican flag up here. I have some awesome stickers of movements that I've done. I went to paint night for the first time, and I got to paint Selena and listen to Selena.
Oh, wow.
So really, trying to find new things, like you were saying, Claudia, making more intention to meet more people and like be outside of, the usual spaces that you're in, especially with people who are across the movement, or maybe not even be doing movement work, which is so refreshing. To be in those spaces. So yeah, those are some things that I do and try to do consistently to take care of myself, to make this work more sustainable.
Good. And Stephanie, what sort of signs, if any, do you identify as burnout in yourself, and how do you cope?
Oh, wow. So this is actually something that I've gone to therapy to talk about too, and it's really been like really being intentional with your body and listening to my body. If I'm waking up and I'm having a really hard time waking up, is it that that I'm really tired? Like, did I get enough rest? Have I gone to the doctor lately? Like you said, like avoiding doctor's appointments can lead to those things. So for me, it's really like identifying, like, how tired am I feeling? Like, why am I drinking like 2-3 cups of coffee today? And seeing like what things can I do to kind of feel more energized, and coping. I really cope by laughter. Some like for me, like it's super therapeutic to watch a funny movie. And when I'm feeling like, I'm drowning because of the news, I also try to like turn off the news, tune that out a bit, because there's so much going on in the world that so deeply impacts us as people, that we forget to think about ourselves. And if we can't take care of ourselves, we can't continue to change the world like we're doing. So yeah, it's a lot about, like, for me, it's a lot about listening to my body. And yeah.
Thank you. And you, Claudia, how about you?
So I think that listening to your body is first and foremost the most important thing that you can do. But also recognizing the intensity levels between stress and burnout. I think it's normal for us to feel stress. It's normal for some people to feel anxious at times. But if you are noticing that every day, you have the same feeling, even if it changes, if you are not looking forward to things, if those things that brought you happiness, whether you really enjoy getting on your bike and all of a sudden you don't even want to do that, or if you become cynical about things. And I think your ability to recognize it at work can be a little challenging, but I would say if your productivity levels are impacted, if you are having bad interpersonal relationships. I think oftentimes when we're very stressed and anxious and we don't give ourselves the space to heal, that also shows through our bodies. We can become prone to conflict, angry. And I would say, if you have healthcare coverage, taking the opportunities to take advantage of that. It is a huge privilege to do counseling, but if you're able to, it's always helpful to find people that can teach you how to feed your mind with positivity, or just how you better react to things. As Dinorah mentioned, it's to use an analogy on bikes. Life is like a bicycle. You gotta keep moving. You gotta keep pushing those pedals. But sometimes when you're going up or down hills, you have to change the gears. And I think that's very important for you to keep in mind when, that hill feels really, really high and you're really exhausted. Change the gears and find new ways, I think, to uplift your spirit. But I would say, I think I thankfully haven't experienced burnout yet. I do notice myself being very stressed oftentimes, but I'm also trying to be more intentional about how to take care of myself, because only by taking care of myself can I be a positive force for my community.
Absolutely, and you made a really good point of when you're sharing with others, and I think especially when we spend so much time in our workplace people become our family as well, and having safe people to be able to talk to about how we're feeling very openly and vulnerably, if that's safe, I think it really, really is really helpful. And being upfront, I think, I've had conversations with past supervisors of how, if I'm having like a tough day and I'm really stressed out and I'm really anxious, like trying to recognize that and also like be vulnerable and share that if that feels safe. Because I think vulnerability is a true strength, and I think it says a lot to be able to share that with folks and say like, look, like I'm not having a good day, like this is what I need from you, like can we work together to kind of makes this easier for each other. And I think really leaning on each other and our community to care for each other, because if we can't care for each other, then how are we gonna continue to work together if we're not doing well and feeling well together.
And I think one exercise to practice is, and I can be better, I think we can all be better at this, is learning to say no.
Yes.
We oftentimes feel like we have to be these warriors for our community and that we have to do everything. But knowing your space, knowing when to say no, even at work, there are often times that, a part of taking ownership of your work is recognizing, okay, I am responsible for this portfolio. Managers will always want you to do more. There will always be things that they will throw on your way. But I think learning, what are things that I'm responsible for and things that I can accomplish? Because I think that feeling of overwhelmness or that feeling of, feeling burned out sometimes is because there isn't oftentimes recognition of the work that you do, but you have to be your own advocate at work as well, and making sure that people know what you're there for, what you can accomplish, because else I've had managers, in different types of positions where they give you so many things and you feel like you're not accomplishing much, and that also impacts your well-being and your sense of accomplishment as an employee.
Absolutely, especially in movement work where there's always going to be a crisis. There's always going to be something different, something that we feel that it can't be solved, and there's only 24 hours in the day, and there's only so much bandwidth we have to be able to accomplish things. So yeah, saying no is a challenge, and I think it's something that we can all consistently work on doing.
Yeah. Well, any final words? We're almost done with this chat. What do you think? We're fine?
Last thing I'll say, because I'm with my Poderosas, I think telling yourself every morning, I have a friend that she does Post-its on her on her mirror, and just having a reminder of something of, why you're doing that work. I know for me, when I started at the Latina Institute, it was a picture of Doral in Texas that reminded me, like, hey, no matter when you're having a bad day, think about all the awesome people that you know here, and this is who you fight for. So being reminded of those things, whether it's a picture of your family or is it a goal, putting things as images also helps your brain start, repeating those images. So especially when the news feels so overwhelming, feed your brain positive images and things that will nourish your heart, but also your sense of who you are and why you're doing this type of work.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It seems like every corner we take, sometimes we see negative things. So definitely surrounding yourself with things that make you happy, things that make you smile is super important to nourish ourselves, like you said, Dinorah. Thank you so much for your time and for listening, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Claudia and Stephanie, for dedicating your time to such powerful and important work. Thank you to our viewers for joining us to Poderosas to the Front. We hope you found this conversation helpful. Please make sure to follow the National Latina Institute for Reproductive Health on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.